So, ladies and gentlemen, we're to begin. Uh, my name is Kari Korkman. I'm the founder and director of Helsinki Design Week. Helsinki is celebrating World Design Capital year, and we are really thrilled and excited to be here and talk about some current topics that take place in Helsinki and also has an effect on Design Week and the whole design year. We're soon going to link to Helsinki, city of Helsinki, and meet Beacon Helsinki and some other representatives of different co-creative projects going on in Helsinki. Here with me, I have two members of Helsinki Design Week Advisory Board. Jane Withers, Design Consultant, and Thomas Hermakora, Regeneration Designer. Perhaps a few words about Helsinki Design Week. Helsinki Design Week is now 8 years young, and so we started 2005, and it has grown annually, and it's now the biggest design festival in Scandinavia. And also the biggest event during World Design Capital year 2012 in Helsinki. It's been an exciting year to us, and it's been really great to have Jane and Thomas on board. Jane, we worked on another project called Wonder Water as well. Perhaps you could tell about that, because that's now on in London.
Wonder Water is about working with designers to communicate water issues. And it's been a kind of mad year for it, because the first Wonder Water Cafe we did in Beijing a year ago. Then it's been at Kiasma, the Museum of Contemporary Art in Helsinki, and now it's in London. And basically it's a sort of temporary installation in a restaurant that looks at how water's used in food production and issues like food security for the future and so on.
And that's also an ongoing project. And as our topic, what we are going to talk today, this morning, is about co-creation. Thomas has been involved in a project called Make Helsinki, and perhaps you could tell a few words about that.
So Make Helsinki is a pop-up urbanism intervention scheme broken up into different workshops that was hosted in the World Design Capital Pavilion in Helsinki. I started the project in collaboration with a think tank in Helsinki called Demos. Demos is the leading think tank in Finland. They work very closely with the National Innovation Agency, which is a model for many other national innovations across the board in the world. And they facilitate a lot of social service redesign. And so one of the intentions of this project was to enable people to feel that they have the tools and the inspiration devices to create their own installations to revitalize a few places in Helsinki that we had mapped out. So there were 4 interventions that were staged during Design Week. I came back from it last week, and it was quite interesting. And there's a follow-up project now that I'm starting to develop an urban prototyping task force with all the different activists in the city that do lots of temporary actions, but that don't necessarily see themselves as people that want to project strategic implementation plans into the cityscape. Whereas many people now know that pop-up things like restaurant day, cleaning day have been accepted in the common psyche, and it's worth considering how it can be a strategic asset to a tool to do pop-up and temporary events to provide greater well-being for its citizens. So that's really what co-creation there was about.
Thank you, Thomas. You mentioned Restaurant Day, and there are a couple of other initiatives that actually inspired Helsinki Design Week to choose co-creation as our theme 2012. We are going to talk about these particular initiatives in a while with our friends in Helsinki, but there is a short video clip about Restaurant Day, so that you get to know what we are actually on about.
We need to take it back, rumble in the jungle. The head honcho, Kid Congo, means trouble. For the not knowers, I was born inside the borders of a land with the greatest treasures ever known to man. Overstand, everything works according to the plan. Your soul weighs 21 grams, my man. Lightweight, fuck on my space, I need my space, yeah. Socially overworked on the net, migraines. Dope is on the set, bet at all my names. Gracias, no Hall of Fame, just a whole lot of game. It ain't a thing. Hey yo, study slang thing, banging man, never lounge where the lames hang. Prosperity and peace gotta maintain. Elevated states, we all in the same plane. Dedication, I've been patiently waiting for the top floor accommodation. Brand new high, bound to fly your way. But hey, how things on your side? Dedication to you and yours. Dedication to you and yours. To you and yours.
Okay, so anybody can open a restaurant for a day. That's how simple it is in Helsinki. Could we now go to Helsinki and to meet the founders of Restaurant Day, Cleaning Day, and so on? So Helsinki, can you hear me? Hi,
All
sir.
right, are we online?
Yes, you are.
Great. Hello, London, and Kari, Jane, and Thomas. My name is Sebastian Jensen, founding partner of Beacon Helsinki, and Beacon Helsinki is a cultural think tank as well, and curating multidisciplinary creative community that on one hand provides instant insights on processes and source of inspiration on a live feed at beaconhelsinki.com, and in addition, based on and in collaboration with this creative community, we will create fascinating company collaborations as well in a new kind of manner. And today, Beacon has been happy to introduce here one of the most interesting initiatives in Helsinki. And first of all, we have here Erkki Perälä, which has been working actively in the neighborhoods of Kallio and initiatives related. And then we have Pia Pakarinen from the Helsinki Entrepreneurship Institution, or you will say, tell the proper translation probably, and working with an interesting initiative called Avokonttori, Open Office. So I hand the word to Erkki.
Thank you. The reason why I'm here, why I was asked here, is that I founded a community or an organization centered around the district of Kallio, where or nearby where I live, and we have been doing lots of different kinds of participatory culture projects. The most recent one was Kallio Block Party, which is a volunteer-based event in which we have done, which attracted about 10,000 to 15,000 people. And the amazing thing about that was the budget, which was fairly small, I'd say about 1,500 euros. And we, no one got paid, and we organized this party by ourselves, for ourselves. Also, we have organized these huge flea markets that have also been very popular. which is also based on volunteer action. So anyone can come and sell their stuff and buy, and it's always this big happening. And we've also had a third of more social project, which is called the Korttelikeittiö, might be loosely translated to a block kitchen, where we have done cooperation with some social initiatives to get people to have lunch together.
And my name is Pia Pakarinen. I come from Enterprises of Helsinki, Federation of Enterprises in Helsinki, and we have 6,700 members, 54% of which are sole entrepreneurs. So we wanted to create a space for entrepreneurs because they need a community to work in, they need a place to go and work there. And most of the people which come to our Avokonttori open office, as it was translated here, it's a cafe. It's a place to come with your laptop with. You can print there. You can meet your customers there. You can book a meeting room. And in the evenings, every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we have a kind of gatherings where you can pitch your a business idea or a clinic, join a clinic where you can get marketing aid, communications, PR, so on, how you are going to run your business. So kind of training for new entrepreneurs. And it's a pop-up, it's only during September, but we are going to continue with these concepts because they have proved very, very good.
So, Sebastian, can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So you're situated. You're at this the studio or the space is the home base for Helsinki Design Week. It's the old customs warehouse where you are located now. These initiatives that you are describing, they kind of showcase the spirit, the spirit in Helsinki, which is very co-creational. What kind of events, pop-ups come up? How would you describe this momentum now in Helsinki for new ideas and new initiatives?
Generally, I think the situation is amazing. I mean, I have never seen as many entrepreneurs and fascinating startups, just individual initiatives for the common good as we see around the city, and also regarding it kind of culminates to the World Design Capital that has really created lots of new spirit and new potential for each and everybody of us to improve our environments.
And you're a designer yourself. How do you find that this affects your work as a designer?
Well, as an industrial designer, it's always relevant to collaborate with first of all, with different fields, of course, but also just to kind of sit down with interesting colleagues and bouncing around on potential ideas. And the best thing is to actually realize them. And I think there's a huge potential for the moment in Helsinki to realize these kind of initiatives and the surroundings and the foundation really supports these kind of initiatives.
So these initiatives, they inspired Helsinki Design Week to choose the theme co-creation. So let's focus on design and co-creation. Jane, as a design consultant, how do you feel? Is this something that is taking place all over the world?
Yes, I think so. I mean, the theme for the Venice Architecture Biennale this year is common ground. But I think one thing that's interesting is 10 years ago we had the designer as the individual, the auteur. It was all about self-expression. Only one name was given to a product and so on. And obviously we've come quite a long way from that, and now it's all about co-creation. But actually, I think that in the past, the one designer was the fashion of the moment, and of course they were collaborating with industry, with companies, with marketing, with all sorts of things. So I think we have to take a little bit of skepticism towards co-creation as well, and understand that it's part of a trend, and how do we push it beyond just lip service to really make it happen. And I think that's the challenge we face, because Common Ground in Venice seems to be about architects collaborating with architects. It doesn't particularly seem to be about architects collaborating with communities yet. So I think we all have to make it go further than just, the follow-on from designer in inverted commas. I mean, with Wonderwater, of course we're collaborating. We're collaborating with scientists, water scientists, to understand the facts behind it. And if it can really push more cross-disciplines, I think that will be the real fruit of co-creation.
And Thomas, as a regeneration designer, what are the essential elements that are required for a successful co-creation project? What would you say?
Thank you, Kari. I think it's very much on a case-by-case basis, and probably the main thing that is required is the ability to listen and to accept to delve into the problems rather than have makeshift solutions that sort of come from your own past or your own ego or whatever drove you to become a designer. So it's this idea that you need to embrace the context much more than you had to before. And I think this all really stems when I started Clear Village, which is this regeneration design charity which I'm running, and the reason why I got involved in the World Design Capsule. It's so the spirit of the age, whether it's the DIY or the maker spirit, very much connects to what happened, for instance, with the Enron case. That you had a notion of responsibility or social responsibility. So the architect, the designer, the person who impacts the world by putting out objects and things or even services has to be more conscious of his actions and their impact. So this design revolution probably in the making and how it translates to action is probably an emanation of the sense of responsibility that's been infused into the designer over the last 10 years. And there are many, many projects we see, for instance, Index in Denmark, designed to improve life, or different topics like the one laptop per child from Yves Behar. This is a trend. And how does co-creation connect with that? I really think it's simply the extension of the realm of responsibility into understanding that if you do it by yourself, you cannot be accountable for the whole problem. So you need to embrace the whole context, and that's how I see co-creation.
Thank you, Thomas. And then back to Helsinki, Erkki, you have the block party, which is founded in the city of Helsinki, but in the district called Kallio. Is it all? You mentioned the budget, and that it's very low. It's you're all voluntary working for it. How do you see it? How sustainable is a project which is based on voluntary work?
Well, I think it is upsides and downsides. The upside, of course, is that we can do everything pretty cheap because everything is done voluntarily. Everything is like we work in very tight schedules and tight budgets, and that usually makes the action very efficient. But as you asked about the sustainability, that is probably one thing that is, if you mean that if it will carry on in the future.
Yes, that's one.
I think it might very easily vanish as quickly as it appeared. I think that's a possibility, but I also think that is something that if there are no people who want to produce or co-produce an event, then it won't happen. And I think there are lots of, especially in Finland, we have our whole third sector is full of organizations that don't really have a reason for being anymore, and they still carry on with just the old structures, and I don't think that is necessary even.
Yes, thank you.
Can I make a quick comment,
yes,
actually?
Sure, Thomas.
So I think about this idea if co-creation as we know it today is going to stay, what you've just mentioned in Helsinki is a case, of course, that demonstrates this, because there has been so many actions that are really positive for the city and created value for it in terms of city branding, etc. I think what What might stay is simply this idea that we're not going to turn back towards the world before technology. So social media and a lot of these, let's say, tools and devices that have made things that were difficult to organize before cheap in a way and create efficiency. So it's a very lean machine towards progress in a city. And that's why I think it's going to stay. Maybe it won't be called pop-up anymore. It'll just be one more cultural norm.
I think what's interesting is you're talking about the alternative economy and the fact that you can do things on a different scale without the original structures we used to have, with a much lighter, fleeter foot. And I think that will be a real lesson people will learn. And I think it's interesting with restaurant days. It's now a huge movement. How many restaurants on one day?
Well, I think last time restaurant day took place, there was 150 restaurants that opened.
Yeah.
So it's becoming bigger and bigger, and apparently they've taken the concept outside Finland as well. So you don't know how big it's going to be, but it looks really, and it's such a fun event.
Yeah, totally ground up. And I think that also, presumably, the city have had to turn a blind eye to taxes, all the usual structures that make a new business difficult to begin. And I think that's quite a healthy lesson, that you can allow things to flourish on their own.
That's right. So thank you, Helsinki. Do you have some other comments or remarks regarding, do you want to send greetings to all of us?
Yes, of course. If we have any friends over there in the audience, hello to all those guys. But I think, as you mentioned there, this co-creational and collaborative and kind of empathetic way of working within the creative field will really be here to stay and standardize and not being a trend anymore.
Perhaps another question to Pia about the open office. Is that's now a pop-up, but is it gonna be something permanent in the future?
Well, the cafe itself, it will continue as it is, so it will just change its name. But the concepts that we have developed will continue in some other place. So we'll probably open a new pop-up somewhere else. But as you also already mentioned about social media, it has been very important in our project because it brought us the full house from the beginning. So it was really something.
Yeah, without social media, this would not take place, apparently.
I want to express a thank you to Helsinki officially, because I think it's a city which allows people to experiment even if they come from abroad. And because it acts very much like a village, well, Kari, you've been responsible for introducing me to much of what's worth seeing in Helsinki, and probably there's a million more things, but it's a very enticing, exciting experience to have been invited into the ecosystem of design in Helsinki, and probably with World Design Capital this will permeate further into the design world, because it's as if 2012, just like 2011 was, you remember the Times magazine picture, it was the age of the faceless revolution, and well, 2012 for design to me marks a shift with Helsinki at the spotlight, from being an individual action to a collaborative force for good, and as a mainstreamed phenomenon, not something which is pop-up, guerrilla, aggressive, subversive.
Yeah, thank you, Thomas. It's always a bit pathetic when somebody from Helsinki says nice things about home city, but I'm really proud to talk about Helsinki, because the change has been so fantastic. If I look back to 15 years and now, it's really a very fruitful base for new startups and the low hierarchy. You know, you can basically call the mayor, Lord Mayor, and ask for for an ask for a meeting and get things going. So it's really a good place for an entrepreneur to work at today. And Jane, I guess you were for the first time in Helsinki just 2 years ago. When was this?
No, actually, I've been a few times before working with Artec and various people, but I've got to know it much better. And I'm sort of fascinated because, in some ways it's a long way from other places, but in others it's made its own international connections in an interesting way. And it's also quite a small community, and I think that helps. The city is small, you can get around, people know each other. As Kari says, there's access and a history of democracy. You don't seem to have a sort of heavy top layer, is that right?
That's right, yes. And so now we've been talking about co-creating quite locally, but and Helsinki as a small city is and a bit in a distance as well. We have these challenges when it comes to international collaborations, and that's actually one of the reasons why it was so great to have you guys, Jane and Thomas, helping Helsinki Design Week to open up a little bit. And yesterday I took part in a panel. The title was Provocative Design Festivals, Who Needs Them? And there is this attendance of a huge number of design festivals popping up all around the world. And when we started 2005, I think there were approximately 20 design festivals, and now the figure is nearly 100. So there is a network of design festivals out there, and at this point nothing actually links us together. But together with Dutch Design Week and London Design Festival and some others, we have started to some kind of a networking project. I'm calling it something like, because it doesn't have a structure yet. And so and that's also it's a co-creational project, all in, and really excited about it. And do you think that this kind of how do you see what kind of a platform this network could perhaps provide a design consultant or a regeneration designer, that can these projects that we do locally, how well do they scale? And for instance, if we start with the Make Helsinki, how do you see, can that be adopted in other cities as well?
So just to understand the question, are you saying how these different actions can relate to the design festivals and scale? Sorry.
No, I think the project you did in Helsinki,
yes.
Do you think that there are elements that in this project that could be adopted in other cities as well? If we think about the design festivals network, they are all based in different locations around the world. How do you see it? You work internationally, so how do you see that project? Could that be?
I definitely see a great potential for creating synergies between design weeks, particularly if design weeks had sort of a global top curatorial layer. Let's say World Design Capital almost represents that, but it's in one city. Why not imagine a World Design Capital sort of through the connection of the different design weeks on a topic? If it was co-creation in 2012, maybe 2013 is going to be about biomimicry, which I'd be very happy about. But basically, I would imagine that these events and things that we stage in different cities could easily come into other cities if there was the intent from the curation that there was a connection. What I find a little bit frustrating sometimes is that design festivals have still a bit of a flavor of hyping things that are in the now, and that's one, excuse me for the compliment, but a huge distinction from what you're trying to do, Kari, inviting not just the spirits of the age, but also doing things that show design in its greater context. What can it do for society? Not just how many more chairs can we have? So if the design weeks aligned on something a bit of almost like a charter, that would be, I think, a fantastic way to put them. And if you had that charter and say 10 or 15 design weeks around the world or design festivals align around those values every year, maybe that could be a way to not have to force design weeks to work together, but to align on the principles so that the exhibitions and things they stage go from one place to another in a more fluid way. Sorry.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for the words. Helsinki Design Week has aimed to be multidisciplinary from day one, and the new ideas, even innovations, they lie in between the disciplines, and we've always tried to challenge these disciplines. And when it comes to design festivals globally, the number is growing, but I don't see that as a problem. I think they are an asset. We just have to work closely together and make these links. And the fact that they are all, or we are all different, is also a good thing, of course. We have different profiles. If I, for instance, compare London Design Festival and Helsinki Design Week, London Design Festival is known for these spectacular installations and projects which show the power and the creativity, of course, as well. In Helsinki, as these cases also show, it's much more down to earth on a grassroots level. But I think personally that the seeds that we are putting, those are growing from of course from the ground, and that's why these initiatives like a restaurant day, cleaning day, and block parties are so inspiring to Helsinki Design Week.
Just want to make a quick reference to Wonder Water, because the other day when I went to the opening, what I found was extremely strong and starkly in, let's say, contrast maybe with this sort of spectacular nature of Design Week and Festival in London, was the utilitarian and social and sort of sustainable ethos in the Wonder Water Cafe, how it integrated with Leila. And I think that maybe a few words on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also been designed as a project that can travel, which I think is probably what you're talking a bit about, the links between the different design festivals. So it's deliberately light, it's a graphic design element layered over an existing cafe that also works with universities to bring the story of water and design together. So it's not about a big splash, but it's about taking time to sit and discuss. And the cafe becomes a place where water scientists, a lot of kids who've been doing, Kari and I have sort of set up classes with the local schools and so on. So it has quite a different flavour from the sort of design with a capital D. And I think the community there will take on quite a lot. And I think it's those things that you can make have its story in each place. As I say, in the last year, we've done it in Beijing, Helsinki, and now London. That's been quite an adventure, and each one completely different. I mean, I think what Thomas was saying about the network of design festivals is really interesting, because each one has to have its difference and its own character, but be like chapters in a story, because also a lot of the audience are connected between a lot of, say, 3 or 4, and that probably nobody does 100 in a year. I mean, that would be a challenge, but you hear bits from it and so on, and you build a picture that has to become something larger.
I'm going to start a tour operator.
Yeah, I think next one is Istanbul or Beijing coming up, so let's meet there. To Helsinki, just to say that block party and the open office, those are kind of projects that Helsinki Design Week would very much like to collaborate with next year. At Kallio district, do you see that we could do something together next September?
I don't see why not. We have lots of partners. I think we had about 20 local entrepreneurs with somehow affiliated with the block party. We're very open to new partners as well. The one thing is, though, that we don't at the moment, I don't know if we're going to have a block party next year because we never know. We always have to decide at one time again. And that was, I think, relating to the question you asked about sustainability is also that I see that also as a threat, like being too institutionalized. And I think that's something we have to battle against all the time. We have to recreate ourselves again each year. But I think we definitely could do some work together as well.
Looking forward to that. I think we should start summing up.
I mean, I think the big question too is what will Helsinki take away from this year? You know, what will Kari say? What would his be advice to the next World Design Capital looking at a theme?
Yeah, who knows, by the way, what is the next official World Design Capital? Is there anybody in the audience who knows the city for 2014? Apparently not. Big news, it's Cape Town. And must be devastating to London to not be the World Design Capital, not even of 2014. So Cape Town is facing same kind of challenges as Helsinki, and that's to do with time. There is for 2014 there is not much time left, and Cape Town perhaps does not have the same kind of heritage, design heritage, and reputation as I'd like to see Helsinki does. Helsinki Finnish design is already a brand, so to say. But I'd be really interested to see what design and city planning and everything that is related to design shows then in the Cape Town. Thomas, do you have something about?
Yeah, something burning on my lips because I've been to Cape Town a few times and love the place very much, with the exception of feeling sometimes a bit challenged because it is I think it's a hybrid city, meaning it's sort of well, it's not just the apartheid. It's a new form of apartheid between the relatively successful formal city and the relatively struggling informal sort of sprawling city around it. And I think Cape Town has the potential to challenge this topic of hybridicity in a way, or hybrid city, because the struggle between formal and informal is a huge one in the world, where we can sort of take some of the values of World Design Capital, trying to permeate design into the greater context of society, but also just in the spirit of the now, we are learning a lot about how to redesign social services based on the informal city. And finally, this idea of meshing and mixing different cultural origins. It's a place where you come from everywhere and nowhere. I mean, apart from the sort of Shaka Zulu descendants, you're not really sort of from there. So maybe it's a city that's kind of landed there, and it could express not just the crafts tradition of Africa, that probably design in Daba, which is the reason why Wild Design Capital is there, and Ravi is pushed forward. Could be brought together, in sort of this idea of vernacular, but generally this idea that we can inform design and enrich it through the informal city and hybrid notions.
Yeah, that was perhaps the motivation to give this title to Cape Town. That it's a fresh start for the city itself as well.
Hello.
Okay, let's all wave, and thank you very much for 100% Design for letting us have the stage. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Thank you, Kari. Thank you, Jane.